What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Believe in Kentucky. My name is Vinny Hardy. Aaron Gershon of the Cats Paws is not in today, but we got a great guest in his place. We got a current UK O-lineman, Lexington's own Jager Burton in here with us, man. Jagger, appreciate you hopping on the pod. How you doing?
Of course, I'm doing good. How have you been?
Hey, can't complain. Can't complain. We finally getting a little summertime, a little hot weather. So I
Something. It's
guess
been raining nonstop.
yeah. For like May and June, it's been crazy how much rain we've been getting.
Yeah,
But that summer weather means we getting closer to your time of year, right? We'll be getting the fall soon, right?
yeah, closer to camp too. That's what we were talking about today. It's like, man, I love for it to get warm, but camp's kind of glooming. but no, I'm excited for it. Uh, one last year, so I'm excited to do it one last time, especially with the group we got this year. I feel really good about it. So I'm excited to get there. Honestly, for the first time in a while, I'm counting down the days to camp instead of the opposite way.
See, I was wondering too because it's crazy because you're a veteran guy now. You one of the older guys, and I was wondering like how you approach camp. Did you approach it with the same mindset you did like a freshman or a sophomore, or do you approach it a little bit differently mentally? Are you a creature of habit? You do the same thing every off season.
Yeah.
How do you approach it?
There's like some long-standing like traditions in the O-line room in terms of like things that have been done like for forever. Like we get like a big break after practice, and the O-line will always like pick a show, and we watch it. Instead of going home, we all sit in there, eat lunch, and then we go up there and we all watch the show together. So I don't think we picked out a show yet this year. I think last year we did Breaking Bad, so that on the cool side, I guess. But football wise, I think for me, the first year you go into camp, you hear everybody talk about camp, like just in general on social media and all this stuff, and you're like, I'm just trying to survive camp. You get that schedule the first year, you're like, oh, it won't be that bad. Then you get 10 days into it. But as I've gotten older, I think it's the time where you can either put in the work and be grateful you did, or you can try to just get through it, and then you get to the season and you get to game 3 and you wish you would have just kind of hunkered down and locked in. So we've been on both sides of that when I've been here, and this year Coach Stoops, Coach Hamden have made it a big thing for do the work now and be grateful later, rather than the opposite way around. That's kind of just been like a motto for us in the locker room, and for the coaches too, I think. So we've been turning over every stone we can, just to get back on the good side of this thing, and do it together and have those good moments. We've had some flashes beating Ole Miss. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Like being down there and winning a big away game in the SEC. There's no feeling like it. So trying to do that a lot this year.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, the flashes. Y'all were 2-2 going into Oxford, and they were ranked top 10 or whatever, and y'all went in there and put it on them and come out with the dub, and then it was like you were just kind of grasping to get that back all year
Yeah.
long. And I'm not trying to be a dead horse, but I mean, we all know 4-8 wasn't what y'all wanted. 4-8
No, that's
wasn't what
true.
y'all
Yeah.
busted it in camp for, and did everything to get yourself uncomfortable. So then, only one more win after the Ole Miss game. So
Yeah.
so yeah. So like you said, turning over every stone. You got a lot of new guys in the room,
Yep.
yourself, and on the team. Period. So how is
Yeah.
it you kind of being a pillar, getting to know these guys and kind of getting them used to what Kentucky's all about?
Yeah. It's been fun, honestly. Coach Dean Hood came back player development last year, and this year it's been such a big emphasis just with how college football is now. Like they always say like you're not going to want to bleed for someone you don't know. So it's been a huge emphasis this offseason, especially throughout spring and now even to get to know your teammates. Figure out, don't just know their name. Know where they're from, know what their family's life is like. Know what they struggle with, know what they're good at, stuff like that. So it's been interesting getting to know some guys, and then offensively, like this has been one of the closest groups I've been around, especially. Like I feel like when we brought some of these summer time guys in, they were like, "What do you mean you didn't just get here? There's no way." Like how like people were confused, like, oh, this guy's been here the whole time, with just how we talk to each other, how we interact with each other, how much we hang out outside of football. Golfing's been a big thing with the group this year. We've been going out to a bunch of different places and all playing together. A bunch of the freshman guys have started to get into it, and some of the transfers who weren't into it are getting into it now. So we've been doing that, having a little competition outside of football. And then just, making an emphasis to get to know the defensive guys too. You're not, it's weird how college football is, because it's so like split up kind of like, in high school, if you're going to go play in college, most of the time you play both ways. So, guys that just play defense but you're just around, like you don't have enough guys, but in college it's so split up where, we're basically on different practice fields for 90% of practices, and then lifts. You're normally now this summer we've been with the D-line, but just getting to know the guys on the other side of the ball too, and really building that team and bringing, the tradition and stuff of that, of just being a close-knit group back.
And you talk about, getting to know everybody, and some people are surprised that the relationship is still so new. Is it kind of like a tightrope to kind of, you got to get to know each other pretty quick because you haven't been together that long, but you also want to get to know each other genuinely. You want it to go fast, but you don't want it to be phony. And is it kind of like a fine line to make sure you know each other quickly, but also get to know them for real too, right?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think a lot of stuff Coach Hood does is it's more, instead of structuring out a whole conversation they want you to have, it's called get to know your brother, and you get you'll get a random guy, and then you just sit down, have lunch with them, and then at the end, whenever we're doing spring ball, like you could get called up, like they'll just randomly call people up, and you got to basically explain to the team who this guy is. So but the way we did that is it wasn't like a structured conversation. There was some surface level questions, maybe if you're having a hard time getting a conversation started, but at least for me, majority of those conversations, I didn't even look at the sheet. I mean, it's, you start the conversation maybe looking at the sheet, and then it just kind of turns into something completely different. And I think, those conversations, having those, messing around the locker room, eating lunch together, going to play golf, like stuff like that is so much more important to success on the field too, than like a lot of people realize, in my opinion. Like what I said earlier, just when you get down to it, you can watch a team and tell if they know, like there's certain teams you watch, like even when we have bye weeks and you watch a team, you can tell if those guys enjoy being around each other. You know what I mean? Like they're so much more invested. They'll do so much more because it's not just about them. It's about, it's about not letting, one of your best friends down, the guys that you hang out with 24/7. So I think that's an important thing to build.
Absolutely. Are you pretty nice on the golf course?
I'm not in the bottom. I'm riding right in the middle. I break 100. Okay. I can shoot like 92 to anywhere 92, 98, somewhere in there is where I'm normally at. And we got some guys that just started to shoot 120, 125. But yeah, I'm middle of the pack. We got like I say like me, Caddis, Henry Boyer, a new tight end. He's pretty good. Okay. Him, and then the specialists are always the sticks, because they just get so much time to play. All they do, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, man, I'd take 92 to 98. I'd trade with you right now. So
it goes downhill quick, though.
Yeah, man, it's so, I'm so proud of the one shot, and then you shoot the next 6 and just ready to walk off the course, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Did y'all give Caddis grief about the dancing championship, man? Did y'all kind of mess with him since he's Mr. Dance with the Stars and all that?
Yeah, I think you got to. It's good, and I think he knows, like, at the end of the day, he would be the first one to get on someone else if they did it.
Yeah.
But he did it for the charity, and I guess he was pretty good. I think he won. So
yeah, he sure did.
I think we were messing with him the other day, and he was like, "Well, I won." So if I would have lost, I think if he would have lost, it would have been a lot worse. But
yeah,
no, we'll always poke fun at stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he did it for a good cause, so we're proud of him too. But we wouldn't tell him that.
Right. Yeah. Keep that pride. I'm proud of you, but we're not gonna let you know it.
Yeah, no.
Oh man, I'm gonna backtrack to go off the field for a minute too, because Um, you just spearheaded, the relief effort with the tornado relief for London and Somerset, Laurel and Pulaski County. Uh, I'm from I'm from Harlan County. I'm from 25 minutes from where Trent Noah grew up there in Harlan. Uh, what what was it, or what did you do to say I'm gonna get the ball rolling on this to get some funds and some help and some necessities down to the areas that were affected so adversely?
Yeah, so I was in Florida when it happened. I was training at a like a combine prep place, just trying out a gym down there, and I didn't like I had heard about it, but I didn't really know the degree of how bad it was until, I have family all over Kentucky, and my mom texted in our family group chat and said something like, the family members there, they're safe, and I was like, I didn't realize people had passed away, so then I kind of started looking into it, and I just kind of I don't know, I just got an urge like, man, we need to do something about this, like help out these people. These are people that I'm sure there's like people that come and support us,
Yeah,
um, love the state. And, at the end of the day, like I firmly believe, most people in Kentucky are the hardest workers in the world and some of the greatest people too, just through experienced people I've met. So I texted some people around, some staff, and got it figured out with Slacks and a couple other people helping out. And they just, I had an idea and they really put it and brought it to life. And I was actually telling someone the other day, in my head, I was a little nervous about it. I'm like, because it's not really an offensive line. Like you don't really see offensive linemen lead and stuff like that most of the time, it's a quarterback or whatever. But I was like, oh, I mean, anything will help. And I was like, maybe we'll fill up like a U-Haul truck. And we ended up filling up like 3 tractor trailers. And
yeah,
we still have a bunch of stuff left over that we got to figure out whenever they can take some more stuff to take down there. So it kind of just blew up into this big thing. And it's one of the best I've ever felt about something that I've done, including football. Just, actually going down there and seeing this, we got to ride around with the sheriff or the police officers down there. And, they took us into the areas that were like really, really badly affected. And just seeing that, I was like, just how much devastation and stuff. I was really super happy that we helped out in the rebuilding and recovery of things.
yeah. And you mentioned, having family all over the state. In Western Kentucky's been hit. Before that, Eastern Kentucky again with the floods. Just
Yeah.
our state from one side to the other is just kind of getting hit and
About
hit
that
and
stuff
hit. And
often.
so yeah, for to see you guys do that, step up there and get that going, you and Trent and everybody, just hats off, man. That was
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot, but I'm so happy we did it, and I'm so grateful for all the people around Lexington that came out and helped, and super grateful for the news station for that's really what I think honestly did when Bill Meck came out there. And
hmm
they were doing live broadcasting out there with the weather and stuff, and then also doing it in front, encouraging people to come out there. So I think that's really what blew it up. So they deserve a bunch of credit too. So
yeah.
super grateful for them for helping.
Yes, I saw the clips of like BB and Tonight and those guys were out
Yeah,
there. You guys, yeah.
super
So
cool doing
uh,
it out there. It was awesome. Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned O-linemen don't usually step to the front. That made me also when I was thinking the questions to ask you. Were you always that take the lead kind of kid, like first, second, third grade? They got a group study project or something. Or is
Yeah.
young Jagger the one that's like, hey guys, let's get this done? Were you always like that?
Yeah. I was always trying to be the line leader, stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've only played O line. I started playing O line my sophomore year of high school. And before that, I was a running back, like all the way up through. So I think that's a little running back coming out, maybe just being kind of used, being younger and doing stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think especially too when stuff like that happens, being from here, I think it hit me a little bit harder than maybe it did some other guys who aren't from here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I wanted to do something as fast as possible because I knew how in need they were of the things that we could get donated. So I was just trying to use my platform as, as big or small as it is, and try to just get some stuff together and help out, even if it's, like I said earlier, a U-Haul truck. I mean, that still would have helped them. So
Yeah, every little bit adds up, and the little stuff you don't even think about is what people need. Just water, just
yeah,
bottle.
diapers, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
crazy stuff.
you don't have it, you don't have access to it. You
Yeah,
don't know when you can get it, so that kind of stuff. And you got to have water to live. You got a young one and you got a newborn, and you know, I've got two boys. I've raised. They're not babies anymore, but you go through the diapers quickly. So yeah, that kind of basic stuff like that is a huge help. So yeah, definitely wanted to talk to you about that as well while we had you on here too. You mentioned you played running back. Did you play all the sports? Did you basketball, baseball, everything too, or just focus on football?
I did basically just football. I played a year of basketball in 8th grade, and then I always played in high school. Me and my buddies always played in like a church league just for fun. But I was pretty focused on football. I really wanted to play baseball growing up, and I grew up on the lake. So my parents, the summertime is like, this is the whole reason we live down here and drive an hour into town every day. So they weren't. I mean, they would have let me if I wanted to, but I didn't really want to give up the lake time to play baseball. I do kind of wish I did. I'm that's one of my favorite like professional sports to watch now. I love watching baseball or the Bat Cats, anything like that. So
yeah, for sure. Now being a running back, before you transitioned to offensive line, who was your favorite player growing up? Who were you trying to emulate?
Love Jerome Bettis or like LeGarrette Blount.
Okay.
The
just north and south.
Yeah, and then Marshawn Lynch, obviously. Because I wasn't, I wasn't watching Chris Johnson being like, oh, maybe I can do that one day. No. I knew who it was, Peyton Hillis, people like that. I was like, oh, maybe I could do that.
There you go. I feel you, man. I feel you. Now going back to the spring game, the past couple of years it's been the showcase. It's not been, a whole lot, not, injuries for some, kind of made it what it is. Are you in favor of it being the showcase, or were you ready to scrimmage and just hit some guys in the mouth if you've been able to?
Yeah. I feel like for O-line, D-line, we were actually talking about this, like the showcase is like, it's like the same thing for us. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're still going full, like that, maybe like that. I don't know if I can't remember if we tackled this year to the ground or not or whatever, but for the whole line, it's always like, even whenever we go shells, we always joke like, oh, it's just full pads with no practice pants on. So yeah, it doesn't really, I'm cool with whatever. I think nowadays, some people didn't even do showcases, which I thought was crazy. Because I feel like, spring can kind of get where, it's kind of hard to see all the way through to the season because it's so far away. That a lot of people look forward to the spring games or the showcases just to, be able to, especially younger guys, just to be able to, go through a game day, atmosphere, kind of close to a game day atmosphere in terms of, what we do leading up to it. They try to emulate a game where, the stuff we do pregame is the same in the locker room throughout the day, all that stuff. So it's kind of cool just to get that a little experience under your belt. Obviously, it's really hard to emulate how crazy Kroger Field is during, real games, but it's kind of cool just to get that aspect, have some familiarity, I guess, by the time you get to the season. So,
and for a young guy that's, first time going through everything, is as much of a walkthrough for a game as you're going to get, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you get to the first game, especially that's what's so crazy when, true freshmen play is like, you got to understand it's the first for everything. They'll have their first away game, their first time playing, out of Florida or out of Tennessee, stuff like that. And it makes it even more impressive that, I was grateful and I'm thankful, in retrospect. Obviously at the time I really wished I was playing, but like my first year being able to make travel squad and go to places and not have, the worry of playing in a sense most of the time was, I think, super helpful for me because I got to have some familiarity going back to those places. I'd already been there before. I hadn't played on the field, but I kind of knew what to expect in terms of environment and travel and all that stuff. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now we talked about, like you said, not trying to be a dead horse. We talked about 4-8 not being like we want it to be, not what you guys wanted it to be. You personally, you graded out at 99% on your assignment, 76% on your technique. So are you able to compartmentalize and kind of be proud of what you did on an individual level and still it wasn't the year we wanted? How do you process that dynamic?
I think for me it was just a really weird year last year. I partially tore my hamstring in the second game. So I was kind of just, I didn't get to get all those practice reps. Like I didn't really practice much during the week just because, I was trying to just get as, healed up as much as possible to go. Just felt like I destroyed all my progress again whenever I would play. But I was proud of at times the things I did, but I think offensive line wise, it just feels so, team success feels so determined on us at times. I think where like there's games I graded out on probably well that I felt like I played terrible and that because like our group played terrible, or just because we lost. So I think it is kind of hard, especially offensive line wise, to I can't say the word, but yeah, like categorize those things separately. So yeah, I think, I guess there's examples of both, but I was proud of what I did at times last year, but at the end of the day, I would be a lot more happy if I graded out at 50% and we won every game. So, yeah, I think it's hard at times to, I guess, split those things up.
I would say so. Because probably for a lot of fans, the South Carolina game, it was like, oh man, and it was, Brock pressure and their D line was kind of eaten and stuff like that. And so as a group, as a unit, as an O-line, as five guys trying to be as one, you said it was a weird year. So how did y'all keep trying to pick yourself up and cover areas maybe where there's weaknesses and try not to get exposed? How was that grind on a week-to-week basis last year with it being such a weird year?
Yeah, I think, years like last year, I mean, it's some of the hardest thing, just to deal with in a sport where, you're kind of just, you feel like at times like we're doing, we have these great weeks of practice and then go out on Saturday and it just doesn't translate. And you kind of, it's hard to keep the faith. And once you get to a certain point, like, it's hard to keep a group of guys together to, you got to do what we did last week, but better, and hope for a better result. And sometimes you don't get the better result. That's just football. That's football in the SEC. And, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie and say it was easy, but, we struggled together. And, I was so proud that, I never felt like anyone in, the offensive line room gave up on the season or gave up on anyone else in the room. I was proud that I felt like we stuck together. We, kind of like took our beating in a sense of, the poor season together, and, nobody really quit on each other. So, I love the group of guys we had last year. I love the group of guys we had this year. But yeah, I was proud of that in a sense, but yeah, like you said, it's hard. It's hard to go to Tuesday practice after you've been at class all day and it's 90 degrees and, you're 2 days off playing 100 snaps, whatever, 80 snaps, whatever it is. And, you don't, sometimes it feels, helpless in a way of like, man, I feel like we're doing stuff right, but it's just not working out. And, you got to be able to just get it. That's the hard part about being a leader is you got to be able to grab everyone and say, well, we got to just keep doing what, the coaches are telling us what we're supposed to do and, put it together on Saturday. So.
And just, like you said, the human nature part where like, man, and now we got another great defense, another great team. Because in the SEC, look, there's no break. You already know this. So it's like we just coming off of, Tuesday practice, coming off 100 snaps. Got to do this again Saturday against such and such. And then we got to go to their place and do it against such. Yeah, so I guess that's what they call it, being a pro, you got to keep doing what's right anyway, even though you maybe taking that beating, like you said, you got to just grin and take your beating, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I think that's an important aspect of, like I was talking about earlier, just knowing your teammates. It's hard. There's not many people in the world that can do that by themselves, or just do it for themselves. It's got to be about something more than you, or at the end of the day, when it gets super hard and you're in those, cloudy times or whatever it may be, then, a lot of people, you see a lot of people who, you can always figure out who's doing it for themselves when it gets to those points. You know what I mean? Because those people quit because, as much as some people love themselves in certain aspects, like, it's too hard to do it by yourself. You need people there to pick you up. You need people there to keep pushing you up the hill. And some days you got to push them up the hill and whatever it may be. So I think that's one of the reasons it's been a big emphasis this offseason.
Yeah, I just appreciate you being real about that, because I mean, we're outside looking in, and we're like, man, this is tough. So we know it had to be tough when you going through it, day in and day out, week in and week out, all season long, for sure. I had a question too from a listener. I think they put it on the Facebook page, Michael Lawson, and it's kind of going along with what we've been talking about. But he was wanting to know, what freshman are you most excited to see coming in that can continue, the big blue wall, to kind of keep that identity going on the O-line?
Yeah, I think all, in regards, I'll just go freshman. Darren Stray was here during the spring and he was a little banged up, but the way that he comes in every day, we call him, a lot of people hear the term like lunch pail guy, like a blue collar guy. That's him to a T. He was hurt. He was down about it. He was upset, but he came in every day when he was supposed to do, did what he was supposed to do. Didn't leave after he was done doing what he was supposed to do. He stayed there with us, watched us do whatever we were doing, even though he couldn't do it, which he, didn't really have to do that. I'm sure a lot of people would just leave, go home, get back in bed, but, he wanted to be there with us. And, just the way he carries himself, he doesn't carry himself like, you would expect a guy who should have just graduated high school. He's a pro every day when he comes in my eyes. And I know I can trust him. And that's big for him not being here that long, So I think, people should be really excited about him. And then even the other freshmen that just got here, I haven't been around them much, but the way that they kind of I think it's important to have a mid-year guy in each room, just because, it's obviously the freshmen look to the older guys, but in terms of, we're separated, like they're in a different lift group. They're way early in the morning. We're kind of later in the day. Okay. So for them to have someone that they can kind of look at that, he's had a lot more time with, me, with some of the older guys in our room, and knows how we're supposed to do things. And, we've told him, we expect him to hold the other guys to that standard and get them into that, mindset that we all need to be in of, we're not just doing what we're told to do. We got to do more. At the end of the day, you got to do more. Everybody's allowed the same amount of time in the SEC. So, it's regulated. So for us to be, the best group in the SEC, we got to do more stuff by ourselves, not with a coach, group led indie sessions, whatever it may be. So he's been doing a great job so far of holding those guys to that standard and making sure they're there for the times, we meet without coaches, when I'm leading meetings or wherever it may be, or we're doing individual by ourselves. So I'm super excited about him.
Sounds good. So there you go, Mike. There you go, man. When it comes to your game personally, we mentioned, as a team when it got tough and all that, but personally, like as an O-lineman, what part of your game is the most difficult, where you like, I know I got to do this. I got to work at this to be good at it. And there's certain aspects that no doubt come natural, and it's just easy for you to do it. So what aspects of the game are you like, God, I know I got to grind and do it in order to keep it tight and be good at it? And then what aspects are just like, oh, this is so easy, I just love this part of it?
Yeah, I think for the easier part for me, like change of direction has always been something that I feel like has been one of my strengths, along with like just athleticism, I guess, like in space and stuff like that. I think just like we were talking about earlier, playing different positions growing up, and I just felt like I got a lot more footwork than a lot of people who played the position their whole life did, just because that's what people do for running backs or receivers, whatever it is. But I do feel like, there's also areas where that kind of hurt me growing up, like when it comes to core fundamentals, it's something that I still have to, like, I can't just not do it for a certain amount of time and it come naturally to me, because it wasn't ingrained in me growing up as much, just O-line wise. So I feel like I'm kind of having to do a lot more, not beginner, but in terms of college, fundamentals a lot, just to make sure it becomes muscle memory, because at times it doesn't feel like that, whether it's, keeping a good base where my feet don't get together, because that's really the only position you have to do that is O-line. Like you don't see receivers standing, a little bit outside of shoulder width apart on their insteps. It's just not something that happens. So that stuff for me is something that I drill every day. And then with the move to center, I think, something that I, have to do a bunch of to feel super confident in is just snapping the ball every day, just getting like 100 snaps a day and just making sure I'm getting the feeling of what a good snap is, what a bad snap is, where it needs to be at. However, Zach and Cutter like the ball to get back there. If they want it spiraled, they want a dead ball. There's a bunch of stuff with that. So just doing that stuff every day is something, I guess, that probably some people don't have to do.
Right. That makes sense. Michael, I think that hits Michael's question too. He asked another one, but he was talking about the transition from guard to center, and that you just kind of hit that. Yeah. So appreciate you, Michael. And Angelo from ESPN Radio Lex, glad to see us cutting it up. Good luck next year.
That's my guy right there.
Yeah, I love Angelo, man.
He's a good dude.
He's a Packers fan, but everybody has their flaws. So. I'm just kidding, Angelo, man. Hey, he's good people though, for real.
He's a good guy.
Sure is. They had on your bio at UK Athletics, you talk about, of course, wanting to go to the league. Your other thing you said you'd like to do was own a restaurant. So is that still a thing that you'd like to do? And where would you want to have it once you set up that restaurant?
Yeah, I don't know why I've always just thought it'd be cool to just be able to I like grilling. I'm not like a big, I can make a steak, a burger, chicken, whatever it is. But other than that, I'm not super like into cooking. Like I cook a good amount, but I just think it would be cool, to have a game day type of environment at a restaurant, around Lexington, meeting fans, like a pre-tailgate type of place. People would come, kind of like what KSR Bar does with their place.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I don't know. I definitely would still be interested in doing that. It's always kind of interested me and more just the environment and like a community of people, your regulars and stuff like that. I just kind of thought it would be a cool way to, coming back to Lexington and doing something like that and still being able to, kind of be close to the stadium, I think would be ideal. So I thought that would be cool. Just a place people could go before and after Kentucky sports games and, get to talk to people, meet people, and then also have some really good food. I'm gonna have to get someone else on the really good food department, but I think it'd be cool to build a menu and stuff like that. There's a bunch of good places in Lexington now, though. I mean, like Drake's, and you got KSR Bar, like I was talking about, and a bunch of. I actually saw a place open on Nicholasville Roads called Jaggers. So, yeah, I don't know about all that. So I guess it's spelled 2 G's, I think. So I don't know what I named my place, but.
So you coming for KS Bar and Grill? Sounds like that's what you're saying. You coming for them?
Yeah, maybe it can be like a sub off the side or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Michael said, "This is Believe in Kentucky." He said, "Believe in grilling." I'm
Yeah, there it is.
Man, so like your oh my god meal. Is it just burger? Your burger and steak guy? Is that what you like? Just your your favorite meal? Is that what it is? Or?
Yeah, I do some meal prepping during the different phases and stuff. But whenever I can just, make whatever I want, it's going to be a steak I'm a big asparagus guy. I like steak, asparagus, some garlic bread, mac and cheese. Like I can do all that stuff, but
I can potato too or not?
Oh yeah. Okay. Double baked, yeah. I like a good like smash burger. I got a Blackstone, so I did hibachi stuff for a little bit. That was fun, like the fried rice and all this stuff. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos for that. Did it for my girlfriend, so that was a good time. So I don't know. I think whenever I get some more, in the future, if I have some more free time, I'll definitely dive into trying to get to make some cool stuff, like some crazy stuff. But
yeah, that's all right, man. Last thing, man, I'll let you go. I appreciate you hopping on for real. But like the moment you're most proud of, like as a lineman in Kentucky at the SEC, where you're like, "Ooh, I can't wait to see this on film tomorrow." That you got some moments like that kind of stand out. And I know you'll be adding to the highlight reel this year, but up to this point, I can't wait to see that on film. On.
Let me think. I've had some good pulls against people. I'm trying to think if there's another one. there was a goal line play against Vandy this year where I got a little pancake. I was happy at that just because goal line, they always talk about, that's the time you can really try to put people in the dirt. But I think one of the coolest ones was just my redshirt sophomore year. My first year starting, my first SEC start was in Florida. It was at Florida the year we beat them there. And I had a block like towards I guess maybe it was like late third quarter against, they had a bunch of guys that were going to get drafted that year. And me and Kenneth Horsey, who used to play here, we were double team and took a guy into the end zone. And that was, that was like kind of, it clicked a little bit like, oh, I can actually, because, I was like, I could do this, Okay. So that's what kind of why it sticks out to me. And I think that's one of the ones I remember. But yeah, I need to look into that maybe and see, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. There's so many. Yeah. But that's one I'm really proud of just because the significance of it, I guess, in the moment.
Yeah, I'll be proud. You gotta be proud of that.
Yeah.
Now you went against Deion every day in practice. You mentioned Florida. I mean, Watson is like 400 pounds. What was that dude like, man? Just
Yeah. Deion like is cool off the field. Also, he's like one of the coolest dudes I've met. I mean, he's a great guy. But yeah, blocking him every day, it made it a little bit harder to like him, I guess. No, I'm joking. Yeah. But no, he's everything, they say he is. I mean, he's so good at feeling imbalance. If your base gets imbalanced, it's just instantly snatching you through. And he's really smart too. I don't think people give him enough credit about that. In terms of understanding like strengths of offensive formations. And, towards the end of camp, we had certain motions and he would know if it was a run or a pass, stuff like that. So he was just super smart, and then also just obviously an athletic freak. So to be that big and move as good as he does, you when you see him, you're like, oh, this guy's just going to try to push me into the backfield every time. And he was, he could do everything. He could quick swim you, put you in the backfield, so, but I'm super grateful, just being able to go against a guy that caliber every day. It only made us all better. And I think it made, games at times easier for us just because it's, when you're blocking him every day, you kind of get grateful sometimes when you're blocking someone who's not as good, I think. So, in a way, we were thankful for him after, it kind of turned into playing other people.
For sure. I can definitely imagine that, and we'll definitely look forward to see what he's doing at the next level too.
Yeah,
sure. Man, Jager, we all rooting for y'all, hoping that survive camp. You're a veteran now, you experienced, and impart all this knowledge to the young guys. And looking forward to the season. Looking forward to seeing all the work and effort y'all putting in to, like you said, no stone unturned and kind of turning things around, man. So wish you all the best, and can't thank you enough for hopping on here this evening, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So look, guys, for another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Like, subscribe, hit all the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that good stuff. Check out this episode with Jager when it drops, and keep checking back with us here on Believe in Kentucky on the Believe Network. We'll holler at y'all next time. Go Cats.